what world I wanted him to enter today. Then I would look around and pick one that I wanted to feel on his body later. And then he would disrobe the rest of the way, with a mix of power and compliance, showing me everything for the briefest moment of daylit glory, before becoming unmade, breaking apart into individual pixels of heart-wrenching color, which I wish I could find not beautiful. Then he would get sucked into the canvas, smiling even though he was just pigment. And I would wish that he would come back, and he would, every time, in a couple hours, maybe half a day, and we would revel in the different lives that we had lived that day. Then we'd sit together on the bed, plastering colors against the white sheets, and splaying ourselves against the fading light. So that's the type of bisexual chaos energy we're all here for tonight. Excellent. He had one hand on the Marianas Trench and another on, sorry. Ooh.
Oh! It's in the box.
You have chosen the eternal emptiness. Do you want to change? Okay. One more. Box. You have chosen the temporal olive branch. You want to change? Really afraid that would happen. The box. Almost everything that's ever been inside of me is now on the outside of me. Think about it long enough just to realize that it's true. Now think about the vastness, the variety of particles that have fled my watery flesh bucket. And now, stop thinking about what's been inside of me. I really can't believe I had to tell a room of people to do that. What I'm trying to say is be careful what you put in that box, because even if you take it out, it will always have been inside of it. And God knows many things have been in my body which should not be in that box. This says open in case of temporal olive branch. So that happened. As many of you know, I have troubles with time. I think there's a tiny man who lives in the clocks, and he haunts me, and he hates me. But I also realize that some of my struggles with time might just be coming from me, and that I should probably try to make a repair. So what I did is I asked the school social worker what sort of conflict resolution things they use, and then I printed them off, and I filled out these conflict resolution worksheets about time. And I guess that's the poem. Let's go. If you don't like it, blame Ellie. Can you describe what happened in 2 to 3 sentences? Time Man made me and everybody age and made fools of life. I also think he whispered lies to me about what I can achieve and crawled in my body to change how time works for me. And what I did is I told everyone he is a spider-legged bastard man and laughed gleefully while smashing and burning 30 clocks. How do you feel right now? Angry and hurt because we are trapped in one endless cycle of death and change that will persist long after Time Man eats my bones. What can you do to make things better? Accept that change is important and nature and natural. Stop blaming Time Man when I miss a deadline because I'm playing Mario. Stop burning clocks even though I still want to. And include a whole clock in the poetry box, which I did. What can you say to make things better? Time Man, you are essential, beautiful, and not a skittering little incel pest who thinks death is funny. Please stop crawling in my ear holes, though. What can they do to make things better? Stay away from my ears, tell me how the clocks work and what they do in there, sit with me during quiet moments, and stop ticking. And then I also did this one about differing perspectives, so here's my perspective on the situation. Time ruins everything good, and awareness of it crushes our souls under the weight of our mortality. The perspective of Time Man is that without time, all would be stagnant, the strong would stay strong, and nothing can rise or fall. Mortality is a small price to pay for change. Maybe. The thought that I have is time must be destroyed. Those who tick and talk toll the bells of death. The thought Time Man has is time must be protected and cherished. Those who ignore the river of change must be shown how fast they flow. My feelings are pain and sorrow as things change, anger when made aware of my mortality. Fucking sucks. Time Man's feelings are defensive and protective of the slipstream and the clocks vindictive towards those who deny reality. And then the actions that we can take, or that I want to take based on that, is spread the words about the evil of Time Man and destroy as many clocks as possible in a reverent and revelry fashion. And Time Man keeps time moving forward, crawls inside anyone who tries to stop it, and force them to move through time. So this was my therapy session about time. If anybody wants to fill out a conflict form, preferably about time, I'll leave some over there. Again, all because Ellie chose the temporal olive branch. Between my inner and outer walls. I didn't like it, but our agreement generally held firm, though the uneasy peace was shook each time I spilled maple syrup or left fruit, hinting of treats worthy of a journey to the overland, the sweet, alluring smells drifting into their territory, treacherous songs the sirens would be proud of, their appearance inevitably prompting my disgust into anger, into shame. But then, there was the golden orb weaver, a lovely, fuzzy little 8-legged demon who nestled high in my partner's window, no doubt feasting on plexiglass I wrote this, that's insane. Plexiglass perplexed insects. They sat for months, both planning meals, gazing out of the window, weaving stories, stuck together in the gap between contentment and hunger. I like to think about them being friends, my partner and the orb weaver, or at least kin. And I was proud that when some might rush for a jar or misappropriated Tupperware to evict the orb weaver, my partner just let her weave, until one day she dropped, not from a string, but crumpled on a windowsill. Who knew? I guess she was a grandma rocking back and forth in her web, probably complaining about the damn kids making a ruckus outside the window. We grieved the loss of her. They said, "Worth living." Oh, weaver! Braid our strands to make a gentler fate. My 2 arms failed, and you left this world with 8. Check the time to know if you get both your phones. Okay. The tape of discord and harmony. She told me that she needed us to engage in harmonic convergence. It was a global event in the 80s during a historical period of astrological alignment where people all over the world collectively meditated to try to usher in new eras of peace, which went great, obviously. And the two of us, we would be converging without the critical mass of human spirit or the supposed planetary conga line, just 2 ex-friends, current lovers, failing to fade into each other for the last time. I guess I'll stop pretending that you haven't heard this. I just want you to know that I never feel in harmony, and I rarely converge on purpose. But I will always love moving to the sound of your music and being raptured in the sound of your eyes. My moments of harmonic convergence, I guess. No chance we had of finding stability. And in each other, we found wonders, comfort, creation, affection, safety, We became eternal rituals like, should I move away from the campfire smoke or just endure it? And hey, look at this image I made of a pig I saw, it's a cool pig. We wandered for tens of thousands of years before becoming our own shelter, each generation safer than the last, each new invention cherishing our protection. Everything we built was for each other. This was how we would endure. This was civilization. So when I wandered around the world market, squeezing between tight aisles of ceramic mushrooms and owl pillows, I couldn't help but think, when did we fuck it all up? We had mixed together mud and water and heaved it together to form a shelter. So to form shelter from the fact that we are shuffling towards a definite end point. But now, the call of the void comes from inside the house, and I long for the cradle of life, but I'm tangled in macrame plant holders, tied to infinite wicker furniture that seems to unweave itself. Decorative ukuleles sing unholy songs as owls of every form and function swoop down on me. Cups, ornaments, spoon holders, salt and pepper shakers, an owl bowl only for popcorn. Every type of owl decoration that we could have possibly imagined in the past 300,000 years is in World Market. Why are there so many owls? And yet, somehow, for some reason, all of this was made for us. Or at least for someone with the express purpose of making us forget that we will die. Those cat measuring spoons. They're cute, right? I'm sorry you're gonna die. But I do want you to know that when you do, you won't do it alone. This message was sponsored by World Market. Poetry reading at a curiosity shop, and I thought it would be fun to just have a box full of weird items. And I think a lot about like the stuff in our houses and just like the stuff that has meaning to me because I got it from childhood, or like I had a weird experience in a World Market or something. And the idea that maybe I could just pile that into a box, take it to a curiosity shop, have people pick things, and instill a little bit of the meaning into the objects when you have them, and then, you know, you can get rid of them whatever you want, it's fine. But.
Hell yeah. Just for context, does everybody know what unpoetry is?
Not everybody.
Not everybody. Do you want to explain unpoetry?
It's your event. I feel like you should.
Oh, I should do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless you want me to, because I'm being interviewed.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, you explain it. Maybe something.
Eric runs an amazing poetry event about 2 to 3 times a month across the city, and he curates a list ahead of time of poets. Anyone can perform. You just got to get on the list, and it's usually really fucking weird and really fun. It's kind of like going into like an 80s or 90s movie version of a poetry reading, or like a TV show where it's like a bad poetry reading, but it's good.
Sometimes it's bad, but yeah.
That's great. It's always good.
Great.
It's always
the last one you did was at Mudlark Oddities, which is like this weird shop in Ravenna that sells like skeletons and like prosthetic eyes and all sorts of weird shit like that. You know, the perfect place to have a fucking poetry reading. And Kevin, how many poetries have you done? Like 3 now, right? 4?
Yeah, I've done 3 or 4.
3 or 4?
3.
Yeah, we were talking before this. So the poetry lab, this thing kind of fell in my lap in terms of like, Christian does the music lab every 3rd Thursday, and then the poetry lab kind of came out because Christian was going to switch to every other month. So then I had the chance to kind of talk with Christian and figure out this new thing. So the idea that I had that was most exciting was to feature a poet to give you about 45 minutes, 60 minutes on stage, which is fucking unheard of for a poet who, much like myself, right? Like, no books, nothing laying around, right? How rare do we get an hour?
Yeah.
So I guess what we were talking about, which I didn't think about until we were talking about it, is like, well, it seems like unpoetry helped you build this kind of an hour-long set, which is crazy because poets with 9,000 books can't do a fucking hour.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't perform until the first unpoetry. I was more doing like visual poetry, like sculpture and poetry kind of mixed together, or just putting up on walls like frame. And then I went to an unpoetry. I was like, oh, that's cool. I got to do that. So I wrote these weird lists which that's where I started. And then, yeah, just kind of like each on poetry has driven some of the ideas. And then some of the poems, like the painting one I started with, is one I've done like a frame of. But yeah, it was really cool. Like over maybe 4 months to be building the set. And then when you offered to me, realizing like, oh, I actually have poetry I could perform. So I was like, I don't perform. What are you talking about? And I was like, okay, actually I can.
Yeah.
I've been doing it.
Of all the poets who we've had it on poetry, you're the one who performs. Most poets just come up and read. You're the only one who gets up there and actually does something.
I've been called the carrot top of Seattle poetry because
really?
By me, yeah.
That's what I call myself, dude.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
100%, yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm always like you bringing a box or like a drum or fucking.
I had no idea.
Friend.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We should merge into one person or.
I think this is the time. Actually, that's what I invited everyone here for. Today we try and merge into one giant poet.
That's nice.
And wait, I met you at like a writing circle. Yeah, no, just big.
Yeah.
But I met you at a writing circle, so you don't write? Do you not write?
I write just regularly. Yeah, like I haven't published any books. Like I said, I was really interested for a long time, and still, I just haven't been doing it as much because I've been performing on poetry. And like how you put poetry in a gallery and have people not just walk by it, because like it's hard. There's a lot of stimulation in art galleries, and there's like beautiful visual pieces, and I think standing to read words is difficult. Like I have a hard time doing it.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. Is like I would either come up with a frame or idea for like a display, and then write a poem based on it, or vice versa. I kind of tried to bring the visual. And Lana, who's here, and I did photos and poetry put together for a while too. Like Lana is an amazing photographer, and we had displays where it's my poems and then a photo based on it, or vice versa.
You would write to the photo then?
Yeah, usually I'd write to the photo. A couple times Lana took a picture to my poem, which seems really hard, but it seems really difficult. But it's cool.
Yeah, and how do you feel without the structure of that, right? Because you were thinking about it in terms of galleries and in terms of visual art. How does it feel without that?
Well, I kind of brought my own. Like, I kind of did it anyway. Maybe that's why I'm always bringing props, or like trying to turn it into a performance. I think it's just what interests me, like the idea of just bringing in visual elements like that.
Do you like poetry readings, dude? I'm like hit or miss. Honestly, as I dragged everyone out for a poetry reading.
A trick question. I invited many of my friends to come to a poetry reading tonight that I'm doing.
But it's not a trick question.
I love poetry readings. I don't think I knew if I would at first, but I like. Sometimes I have like if I have a hard time connecting to the words, like I would need to see it visually to understand. Like I'm someone who really connects to meaning, and I like want to know what it's about. Which sometimes feel like it's a forbidden question to ask poets, like, you know, something that's kind of heady or ethereal. Be like, wait, what was that? What was that even about? You know, it's kind of an asshole question to ask. But like, as long as I can connect to words and context, have some context. I always have a great time with poetry readings.
Yeah, and then your work provides that context for people, right? So like, kind of how you engage with poetry is how you bring it out. You've provided context with a box or some like odd ephemera that you bring in, and that's how you try and connect people, right? You're aiming for more of a vibe than beautiful words sometimes.
Spoiler alert that there might be weird, more odd ephemera, but...
What? Odd ephemera?
A little bit. You never know.
Yeah, that's why I invited you. You're the only poet who always fucking surprises me, which is crazy because poets are genuinely boring.
I do think one of my goals for Unpoetry is just to hear you say, what the fuck? When I get up, like, generally I pull something out and Eric goes, what the fuck?
You got a couple for me today. That was great. All right, and then I guess, how do we land the ship? So we're about to you've never done anything with music before, right?
No, I haven't.
No, was that a thing I forced upon you, or have you thought about it before? Maybe both.
I've never thought about it. I mean, it seemed like it would happen eventually if I keep doing poetry readings, like in front of me, you know. Eric does a lot of poetry and music put together, people reading in front. We didn't like practice with the musicians. I met them tonight or everything, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, cool. You feel good about that?
I feel interested about it.
Interested.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
All right, let's do that, everybody. Let's party on with the music.
Behold, the radioactive wolf. We make wolves who are mostly immune to cancer, but it's not a happy story. I mean, the wolves are pretty happy. Wolf cancer kills about a quarter of some wolf populations, true fact, but not these ones. They roam in a 30-kilometer circle, observing with disinterested glee as nature reclaims the stink of human civilization across the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Their prey has seen it too, and thrives in the circle about as much as the wolves and lynxes will let them. Never mind that the grass underneath their feet, eaten by prey and thus by them, is still growing on the ashes of silent death. Never mind that the pups to old yellers may be exposed to up to 3 chest x-rays a day of radiation, more than you would get even in a nightmare visit to a wildlife veterinarian. 30 years ago, wolves watched the sky grow blue with eerie flame, saw humans flee with frantic energy not even the most organized of packs could instill, and lived through the ashing of their world. But those wolves died of natural causes a few generations ago. Any knowledge their uncanny canine cognition cobbled together long lost with years of reclaiming their natural instincts. So they follow prey through the thriving grassland, thick forests, and flowing creeks, all oblivious and unperturbed by the free radical nutrients they slurp up. But sometimes, the prey must run past the unstable ruins of homes haunted by generations of abandoned ghosts. They must burrow in the hastily dug graves of warriors against the foe no one told them they were fighting. The prey must run all the way up to the concrete prison itself, the entombed reactor, slowly leaking infinite death. Being a radioactive predator sounds pretty fucking cool. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. But they don't glow at night, no laser eyes yet, no dramatic mutations, good or bad, which is good. Our lack of control over controlled rods made a controlled paradise of predation for the predators of Pripyat. I wish I could be happy for them. Our failures manifesting the stranger law of our once predators now prey. But we made part of the planet deadly for the next 20,000 years. And while I'm glad that we covered it in concrete and that the wolves have found a way to thrive in the areas surrounding our infinite poison, I'm glad that they're getting less cancer than other wolves. It's not a happy story. Rising massive chomping off newly evolved leaves, being the first to destroy creation. But the plants clapped back, being so prosperous that the earth cooled down, killing many but not all of the land lovers who always had the muck to return to. And so began a 200 million year battle. The mud birthed strange stout fish monsters whose eyes shot green and hungry with vengeance. Spouted in the literal balls of coal, growing spores, balls, and bullets we still here today, surviving intense cycles of hot and cold that became pain-bearing atheism. Through all this, the plants only became more plentiful, and the tetrapods only more determined to arise from the mud each time and challenge the supremacy of greed. But when 210 million years of feasting resulted in the giant Temdospondyle Mastodonsaurus, ripper of roots, fanatic of fruit, titan of the fish beast, the earth had had enough. She said, fuck that noise, and covered the entire land in volcanic ash. And their sacred love became too thick with carbon, and each and every one of them died, choking on the very thing that birthed them. Life crashes through barriers of time and becomes born anew. Tyrannosaurus rex plucks around our earth as chickens. Tiny, colorful tree rats dodge raptors and comets to become the asshole writing and reading this. But there is no lineage for Temdospondyle Mastodonsaurus, who dared to dream of what lay in the forest. No descendants to reward them for their courage, a courage nature deemed hubris and rewarded with death. They are honored now, but only because we walked the earth and dreamt about what lay beneath our feet. Without dastardly cat-killing human curiosity, the heroes of land and sea will be forgotten. But we can gaze upon their bones and shrine built solely for them and their legacy, and thank them for giving us legs to stand on. Ancient amphibians had no way of knowing why the earth burned, churned, froze, and flooded. But we do. We know why our legacy might end. And I hope that if it does, some bizarre, beautiful creature that I can't even imagine gazes on my bones and thinks about how cool it is that I occasionally left my warm home to look at some ferns. I feel like I'm not supposed to get scared of the music, but it's just gonna keep happening occasionally. I got spooked.
Where's all the feedback at? Do we know?
That's all right.
I don't know. Maybe a microphone?
This is the first poem that made Eric say, what the fuck. It's called List of Interesting Noises. I love you, son. I love you, but I can't love you the way you need. It's not that I'll never see you again. I mean, I promise I will. I really will. It's just that, oh my God, your eyes. Why do you have to make this so hard? No, sorry, that's not fair. It's just, listen, even your mother thinks this is for the best, and I'm sorry, and I love you, and I'm sorry. Flourish! Those are all the interesting noises I know. I wrote this today. Seems like the vibe to read something fresh. He could walk through time like I could walk through walls. It was hard, but all that mattered to me was that he could. He played with that power that it had over me. Like me to watch him. Sweat matted, furrowed, tensing brow, bruised body, muscles, tensing for the next temporal hit. I clung to all of it. And of course, I wanted nothing more than to grip him, all of him, as we slipped, screeching through the slipstream, free of all bonds. Forward was definitely off limits. Neither one of us liked the F word. Future. But taking time from behind, that was something I could beg for. Before our first trip, a short jaunt to the 18th century, we sat by our river, on sand meant for dogs but used by us, and he held my face coldly, tenderly, and said, "We don't have to do this. There's nothing for us there." I couldn't even hear him. I needed him, not now, but in every time. And then we walked, adorned in our silly costumes, slowly becoming less silly. Past ourselves, past confused dogs, past love, loss, growth, and decay, to a dark thicket of nothingness. Sparkling in the dark, I grabbed him, but was met with one word reminder: friends. We walked through enlightenment, marveling at the specter of the past. I stopped and stared at the house that I had got dead in the present, and wondered if it had power over time like he did. We drank and walked and laughed among many other merry men doing the same thing as friends. All of us. Friends, that's right. My fleeting glances were always met by his cheek, careful and calculated. At the top of the old, slightly less old now steeple, he rested, looking out at this strange city that he should know so well. I stared at him deeper than I was supposed to. His blue-fleed, pearl-white shirt flowed in the wind, but couldn't hide his shoulders, taut and tight, resting over clenched arms and clenched fists. His jawbone smeared the boundary between chisel and sallow. I wanted to rub his back, hunched and uneven. His ass, well, yeah, it still was good. But under it trembled one leg while the other was locked into place at the knee. "Hey, I'm really sorry I pushed you to do this. Are you okay? We can leave." He turned to me and he cornered a smile. "No, it's fine. This is your eternity. What do you want to do next?" His eyes shifted through kindness and loss, and I understood that while he held back the gravity of time and I held back the gravity of our bodies, he was doing both at the same time. Time had no power over him, but our wonderful truth did. You were right. The past is stupid. So I leaned forward to kiss him in forbidden and impossible splendor. He shuddered with reality, and we were back, held tight by one another, surrounded by the city where we met, and the ghosts of the city that we left behind that were rejected. Are you ready to walk in?
Feels like a yes. That's a definitive yes.
I'm really scared of the noises in my heart. All right. Oh, the wood ant. The ants thrive in the abandoned Polish forest, scuttling around around their carefully constructed tunnels, doing ant stuff, I guess. Eating aphids, warding off intruders, following literal marching orders from the glory of the queen, who pumped out 800 eggs a day for the glory of herself. 16 feet below and 48 years before, humans scuttled around their carefully constructed human tunnels, doing human things. Constructing nuclear weapons, storing nuclear weapons, following marching orders for the glory of no one. And no one watched gleefully as destruction became more and more assured. Eventually the humans left, but their concrete scars stayed, and as the ant colony above grew, it surrounded a ventilation shaft that connected two wildly different tunnels, ant and human. Unlucky ants would fall an impossible death, surviving due to a cruel trick played on them by physics that their tiny bodies and minds could not comprehend. Physics does not bring glory to the queen. These ants were stranded, alone in the dark, searching senselessly for stench-based signposts, ceaselessly scrabbling, clamoring for clandestine cavities that could reunite them with the queen. Over years, hundreds of thousands of ants fell to the sugar down below, doing whatever it took to survive, eating each other, eating their comrades who had starved, mapping ant miles and miles of pitch-black bunker, defiled in darkness but maintaining decorum, dragging devoured death deeper into the labyrinth, subterranean sentries mirroring their lost society for the glory of a queen who had long forgotten. Some scientists came, human ones, not ants, and observed them with interest at first. This was pretty wild. Two ant colonies, millions above, hundreds below, one thriving, one starving. They watched and recorded that even in unimaginable despair, the ants never stopped searching for the light. They watched until they couldn't just watch anymore, and in brazen disregard for the prime directive of science, dropped a 16-foot plant of ant-scalable material down to the depths. But now came the real test. Wood ants do not accept members of other colonies. So while the insectal keepers of Soviet secrets never lost themselves in the darkness, would the surface dwellers recognize them? They had been hardened by experiences no other ant could even consider, cannibalistic nightmares that they had to climb out of. And would they only be torn apart and not be given the dignity of having their bodies be used for survival? But today, the ants thrived in the abandoned Polish forest, and 16 feet below, the human tunnels finally lay silent like they should, save for the occasional unlucky ant who quickly scurries back up the 2x4 superhighway to one huge, unified, happy colony, where they can scuttle around ant tunnels, eat aphids, ward off intruders, and follow their marching orders. You know, do ant things for the glory of the queen.
Soundtrack is insane.
Pretty lit, right, Kyle? Here's a list of questions that I should know the answers to, but I'm too afraid to know the answers to. Why do noises like that happen? Just how much poop is in Green Lake?
Oh, so much.
That's what we're in for. How often are elevators maintenance? What is the hollaback girl? Was that gross thing we heard when we were kids about chocolate and strawberry milk true? What does the future hold? Does Tobey Maguire think about me even 1/50th of the time I think about him? I'm not supposed to know the answers to them. It was at the beginning of the poem. How many pounds of butter and vegan butter does everyone in this room collectively consume? Am I a hollow back girl? Why does physics work? Will it stop working? Is there a tiny man in the clock who hates me and makes time so wrong? If the aliens came to Earth, would they be concerned about me? Probably not. How much did I contribute to the death of the dinosaurs? If we took all the butter from that previous question and put it in this room, how high up would it go in the room? Like if we just stacked it. How much did I try to stop animals from killing other animals? Will the ghosts of the plants I've neglected haunt me? How many more books will I have read if TV hadn't been invented? What percentage of my choices are influenced by an algorithm? Is this poetry? Is art good?
Is art good?
Is art good, Aaron?
Yeah. This time we're nailing it.
You said poetry reading, so I'm hitting this.
We just stop saying that.
One more bit of bisexual chaos. When he was 6, bumbling around the boggy pond that was, when they were 6, bumbling around the boggy pond that was their lake of infinite possibilities, they noticed a stream of turtles paddling lazily towards the wounded bird, who flailed as the turtle amassed. He flapped, frantic and flightless, color somehow draining from his lily white feathers. The turtle snapped, covered in avian skin and pulling him down to the once mysterious depths, now illuminating to the child the gut-churning clarity of the pond of endless possibilities, close to one repugnant conclusion. So when I told the child, now turned adult, that I wanted them to unleash their animalistic instinct on me, they stared at me like I was in a place that didn't exist, before showing me exactly what nature was capable of. It was hot, don't worry. One last time, let's behold the stick bug.
Oh, I broke the stick bug. I'm sorry.
That's alright. It'll be okay. There were monsters in this world, thick tendrils of carapace flesh the colors of earth, that emulated not twigs that snap easily underfoot, but thick branches, literal widowmakers, that sprouted legs and skittered around forests on a tiny island off the coast of Australia. They fooled stupid primates with oversized frontal lobes, unable to tell a simple branch from a not-so-simple beast. There were monsters in this world. Tell even bigger monsters, the British, came in ships with masks not even the largest stick bug could dream of emulating. And on these ships were rats, uninhibited by oversized lobes. They chewed on branch and bug alike, hunting the insects to extinction, until the once freakishly alive trees moved only with the wind. When they were gone, the people mourned that they could never bring themselves to love. But unbeknownst to the secret, ceaseless hunger of rats and the mournful hindsight of humans, a small group of the monsters survived. clinging to a tiny pyramid of rock 14 miles from their island, surviving on a single bush for food, with only a freezing cave and each other for comfort, alone for almost a century, until some crazy Australian climbers discovered them, an impossible population, a monstrous miracle. We rescued a few, and using what we know about their twiggish relatives, set up the perfect stick bug orgy zones, hopeful that we could fill the world or at least zoos and terrariums with the progeny of these wayward branches. But this species, who had traveled 14 miles, who knows how, escaping a plague of rats only to survive bitter cold, waning food, and endless salty wetness. Unlike normal stick bugs, they did not want to mate in rising fertilization parties. They mated for life, finding one another to sit side by side with in this strange new cage, wrapping 3 spindly legs around each other and vibrating, probably saying the same silly things that humans sing, song, poem, and whisper since the first day that we sheltered in a cave and set it alight with our fire and our warmth. There are still monsters in this world, a few living on that unholy pinnacle of rock and life, but thousands more across the world in rat-proof habitats. We might one day purge the rats and bring the monsters back to Monster Island. But for now, these bizarre moving branches get to move gently with each other in the unnatural safety of labs and zoos. Maybe their tenderness, mating for life, was fueled by survival, and being used to having no one else but cold rock to cling to. Maybe. Probably. But I hope it's fueled by the affections of thousands of weirdo, monster-loving humans who want nothing more than to watch 2 sticks fall in love. And in the same way I wanted to repair with Time Man and think about loving all parts and empathy for beings I'm afraid of, I wanted to grow in empathy with my sleepwalking self. And I was thinking, what would she want? What would she need? So I wrote her a bedtime story. This is a bedtime story for somnambulists. We always start the ritual the same way. We feel our eyes grow heavy, stripping off our armor for casual comfort. We brush our dinners away to melt into minty oblivion and melt into memory-matching mattresses. Our breaths cleanse our runaway thoughts until each brief candle is snuffed, replaced with restful yet retaliatory hallucinations. But one night, which is many nights, while others drifted in blissful self-paralysis, Kevin stirred, muscles young and restless. She stood, at first just wavering, muscles unsure what brain was meandering on about so late. Her vision was enhanced and confused, each item taking on new forms, the shadowy limbs on the floor shifting into toxic slimes and quivering intruders. Was amazing for these bed-bound feet. She breathed heavy, excited, feeling forbidden, surfing an impossible dialectic of the deepness of sleep and the joy of exploration. Her lunar lust lurched forward. Those shadows, just beyond vision's edge, what were they? Nothing. And the next one, maybe, a light switch? No. Eventually, she found herself in a clear patch of light, pale, blanched grass, haze, and light, but wrong light. She gazed up at the moon, breathing heavy exasperation. Excuse me, I'm lost. Do you know how to turn on the light? Rotating like a cosmic loading icon, trying to understand. Oh, said the moon, my poor child. No wonder you are confused. The fates have trapped you and forced you to crave the embrace of ancient stillness and black chaos running. You cannot hold both. I pity you. Take in my glow and be still. Your light will come. It always does. This is simple. I have held vigil each night since before the first slumber and have never failed. You must only sit and wait. So she sat under the watchful pale gaze, giving trust to the moon and its wisdom of stagnant fluidity. But even in slumber, it was hard forcing stillness, and soon shadows around her churned, sliding under her, marionetting limp limbs till the sighing, tisking moon lay behind, and the mysteries of the shadow worked their unholy gravity. Curiosity faded to panic as she stumbled onward. Why were the lights still on? Where are we going? Why were we going? The cloud of confusion was thick, indistinguishable from the stars, until her half-closed eyes were filled with a throbbing globe of light beaming down from above. She shouted at the light. It's dark everywhere. I'm trying to turn the lights back on. Can you help? Well, this is new, said the street lamp. You are different than those who wander under my light, shuffling through the dark towards home, sorrow, or work. I pity you, you blundering fool. Why would you want the light to come back on? When the light comes, I go dark. Why extinguish your light? Sit here and bathe with me. I can be the light you see. And so she did, for a time, sitting in the pale globe of light, teetering in the awkward edge of the streetway. But eventually, one toe blazed out of the glowing light, hitting a shadow. And once one toe hit the light, her restless leg slid out into the shadow till the mystery transferred once more to fly off into infinite black. Step after step, hands pushing away the night, only to recover more. Her breath became ragged, her thoughts rampaging. Were there no answers? Why did she ever leave her midnight prison? Where were we and who? She doubted and jumped back, still embroiled in slumber, more restless than ever, as a wet chill blitzed her ankle. She stopped. Ahead of her, a tiny sea of lights danced wickedly in the waves of a lake. The moon, the streetlights, houses, each light she had passed gathering into one glowing basin of unity. Here, the tendrils of dark crashed gently burning with illumination. You may be lost, but you are not helpless. We are one and the same.